Hey everyone, what's going on? Greg here again from Team Blast. So my client is seeing their best rankings now for furnace repair. There's other keywords too, like furnace repair near me, furnace repair company, furnace repair service, furnace repair Grand Junction, and so much more. It's November. Therefore, this is actually when the peak demand is going to begin for people getting their furnace checked out, service fixed, etc. now because the heat it needs to be on since it's getting even colder where they are located. So this is what I do for my clients that have seasonality as a factor. I look up to see what the historical weather patterns are for them. So I've worked with now a few different HVAC companies, and I always have the same conversation with them that we want to be AC specific when it's hotter out, and then we want to flip that in the winter. It obviously makes the most sense. Most people aren't calling for an AC repair or an installation in November, but meanwhile, furnace repair is going to be at an all-time high in November and December and January, etc. So here is the historical weather pattern. We're in November. We're going to hit this at the best time. So before I get into their rankings, I just want to go over quickly what I'm talking about. So if you ever Google the keyword furnace repair, this is a local search intent keyword. Google's going to display 3 organic map pack listings directly on Google search. This is where you want to be for any local business. This is what gets the most impressions, website clicks, and if someone's on their phone, you can actually then click the business and call them directly to maybe have someone like a technician come over to service your furnace or anything else like that. So you really want to be in these top 3 listings. So here's their heat map scan. This is a 15-mile radius that I have. And I can see in the bottom left quadrant, we are really ranking now for furnace repair, and it's dots 1, 2, and 3. So again, when you're dots 1, 2, and 3, you're directly on Google search for someone who's searching for a furnace repair. That's where you want to be. Now, if I did a furnace repair search in Google Maps, you're going to get all the listings now that show up. So this is what you might typically see if you're using the Google Maps app, or again, if you're using your desktop, you search for furnace repair, you click on more businesses, you're going to get the entire listing now of every company that you could potentially get in contact with. So if we look back at this map, basically the way to read this is that if you're dots 4 and up, you're not on Google search for this keyword furnace repair. You only appear on the map search. This is critical to understand because if you're, let's say, hypothetically, position 12 or 15 or 25, that means there is that many businesses ahead of you on Google Map search. So if I go back to this view over here, imagine you were positioned 16 directly in your city for furnace repair. Someone can only find you if they go to the map search and then scroll past the first 15 different companies, then contact you. You can see kind of why you're not getting as many phone calls because most people only click on the first couple. They get a quote, they see who's available, then they kind of move on. They're not going to call 14 or 15 other companies. People don't have time for that. So let's go back down over here. Again, I'm tracking this for my client, and I've been really thinking about furnace repair back in August. So this is what I talked about too with the weather. So I talked with my client. I said, okay, we know that November is coming around, which doesn't seem like it when you're in August, but you got to start thinking about seasonality. So I started to track the keyword furnace repair. We had, I think it was well below 5% of the time that we were on page 1 of Google. I kept running the scans in September. Same thing, where I think now we're around like 2 or 3% at best. But then in October, I really started to say, okay, we need to start to flip our account, our landing pages, our updates to really focus on furnace repair. Today, now on November 12th, we have that hockey stick effect. We grew 19 percentage points. Now we're on page 1. This is going to be great. Here's the heat map change. This is really hard to see, but this is every scan that I've done now using local Falcon. I can see how my map is starting to change. Again, that bottom left quadrant now, all the way on the right-hand side, that is getting on page 1 of Google. It's going to lead to more phone calls, more website clicks, more bookings, more potential customers for my client looking for a furnace repair. So tips to rank better on Google. You've watched some of my videos now of late. I've been kind of reusing a lot of these bullet points because they hold true. So to start, I use local Falcon to get the baseline scan. Same conversation back in August. I talked to my clients that we are below 5% for furnace repair service, furnace repair near me. We need to grow that share of local voice to get more leads in November and December for this particular service. So I already had that baseline. Next, stay up to date on the weather. So I looked at their weather and I knew that in November and December, that's where the peak's going to start to happen for people looking for their furnace repair. We need to rank at that time. Next, I reviewed the competitor list, look for gaps. Gaps are things like number of reviews, secondary categories, how often they make updates, etc. The next bullet point is that if there's any competitors that are in violation of Google, I have to suggest an edit. So I come across this a lot for different clients. They're dealing with competitors with multiple profiles, keyword stuff in their name, virtual offices, PO box. If any of these companies are taking share away from my client, I have to suggest an edit. And I have to let my client know as well to do that, because we need to have our best rankings. And therefore, if anyone has an unfair advantage over us, we need to address that. Next, we are making changes directly to the Google business accounts. I mentioned this: questions and answers, photos, we're getting reviews, we're doing service descriptions, we're doing product listings. We're even updating our description as well to get really specific about furnace repair and make it very clear to Google exactly what we do. My client does a great job getting reviews on Google and they respond to them. But the next bullet point I have is that they are now getting reviews on secondary services, which is really important. If you're only getting reviews on Google, Google can at any time remove reviews for any reason. So don't just put all your eggs in one basket. Put them on some on Facebook, some on a Yelp, TrustIndex.io, Trustpilot, whatever it is. Get additional reviews. Next, create landing pages. So if you're really specific into furnace repair, you might want to have one for installation, or you want to have any for tune-up or anything else like that. Make specific landing pages, get as granular as you can, make it very clear to Google. Next, local schema markup is key. So you want to have that. It addresses your address, your hours, your description. There's so much you can do with schema markup. I have a video about this you can find on my channel. I go into more detail. And then, of course, run more local Falcon scans, because, again, what we're looking for is the heat map change to start to show progress when the weather's going to flip. And when that flips, we can see over here the hockey stick effect that's taking place. We expect to get more leads now for furnace repair in November and December. As long as we can maintain our rankings or even grow it, this should be the best winter for this particular type of service for my client. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and as always, have a good rest of your day.